If you've ever worked with angles, you know there's a bit of a language barrier. Half the world thinks in degrees. The classic 360 degrees for a full circle. The other half, especially calculus and physics, thinks in radians, measuring angles by the actual radius of the circle. That's where the dual label polar plane comes in. It's the ultimate mathematical translator. On this grid, every single concentric path is marked with both languages simultaneously. Look at the grid lines shooting out from the center. Point straight to right, and you're at 0 degrees, which is also 0 radians. Look straight up, that's 90 degrees, but you also see it labeled as pi over 2 radians. Spin halfway around the circle to the left. You've hit 180 degrees, perfectly matched with pi radians. Having both labels side by side means you stop wasting time converting numbers in your head. You'll start seeing the relationship between a degree and a radian instantly. Now, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see two examples showing how to convert between these two units. The trick is simple if you keep one golden rule in mind. 180 degrees is exactly equal to pi radians. To go from degrees to radians, just multiply your degrees by pi divided by 180 degrees. To go from radians to degrees, just flip the fraction and multiply by 180 degrees over pi. Why do I begin our lesson today with a dual label polar plane? Because today we are going to talk about basic trigonometric functions, which are widely used in modeling daily phenomena, including sound waves, vibrations of strings, motion of pendulums. And trigonometric functions always work with angles. Take a look at the diagram on your screen. Here we see a circle with a radius of r, centered right at the origin, what we call the unit circle. Notice the angle theta starting from the positive x-axis and opening upward. As the angle opens up, it points to a specific location on the circle, labeled as point P with the coordinates x, y. By dropping a vertical line down to the axis, we form a right triangle. Now we have four basic trigonometric functions. First, the sine of theta is the vertical coordinate divided by the radius. Next, the cosine of theta is the horizontal coordinate divided by the radius. Tangent is y over x, or sine over cosine, provided x is not 0. And cotangent is a flip, x over y, or cosine over sine, as long as y is not 0. Next up, let's look at the core identities that tie these functions together. Right at the top is our absolute foundational rule, the Pythagorean identity. Sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. No matter what your angle is, squaring its sine and adding its square cosine will always equal 1. If we take that core formula and divide everything by cosine squared, we get our second identity. Tangent squared theta plus 1 equals 1 over cosine squared theta. Let's take a look at the proof for these identities below. And these are formulas that we should keep in mind when it comes to trigonometric functions. They might be helpful anytime we need to deal with the sum or difference of two angles, alpha and beta. They look a bit intimidating at first, but they follow a beautiful pattern. To show you where these patterns come from, I will prove one of the formulas using the geometric methods as an example. So what we've just seen is the proof of the first part of this formula. If you have time later, I highly encourage you to try doing the same for the others. For now, let's take one last look at the whole picture. Our unit circle, the trigonometric functions, their identities and formulas. Up next, we're going to dive into the graphs of these functions. Now that we've seen what the graphs of sine, cosine, tangent, and cotangent look like, we need to highlight some crucial takeaways regarding the graphs of sine and cosine, the two most common trigonometric functions you will encounter. First, both sine and cosine are periodic functions. This means their values repeat in a perfect loop every 2 pi radians, which is a full trip around our circle. Because of this, we can say that sine x is equal to sine x plus 2 pi, and cosine x is equal to cosine x plus 2 pi. That 2 pi is what we call the period. Next, let's look at how they handle positive versus negative angles. Sine is an odd function. Geometrically, this means its graph is completely symmetric about the origin. The origin acts like a perfect central pivot point. Every dot on the right side has a matching partner on the left side that sits at the exact same distance from the center, just flipped upside down. Take a look at the red line on the graph to see exactly what symmetric about the origin means. Cosine, on the other hand, is an even function. Its graph is perfectly symmetric about the vertical y-axis, like a mirror image. If you choose any point on the curve to the right of the axis, its matching partner sits directly across from it on the left at the exact same horizontal distance and at the exact same height. Today, we've successfully covered the foundations of trigonometric functions. Next time, we'll break down the exact anatomy of the sine function wave. See you in the next lesson.